believe we are live. Do I have audio? I can't tell yet. It's going to take me a minute to find out. I am late. Everything is not going the way, and then I realized I forgot to do something. It's been a whole thing for the last like 20 minutes of me zooming around trying to get everything done. I always tell you guys, make sure you've got your subject drawn out. Yeah, mine wasn't. I mean, mine was partially drawn out. I had them drawn out on my tracing paper. I just hadn't transferred them onto the image. Oh, audio, go away. I can hear you now. So I apologize. So I haven't even set up my palette. I'm just behind on all the things. So tonight, I am working on a Frederick's watercolor canvas board, and just for transparency, I am sponsored by Frederick's. They did provide me with this canvas. I need to remember to contact them. Random SD card. I probably shouldn't lose that. I need to contact them because I'm running low on canvases from all of these live streams. So I need to do that. But anyway, so that is what I'm working on. Very, very smooth canvas, which means it's way easier for me to blend and get fine detail than if it was a canvas with a bit more tooth. Not that canvases that have more tooth are bad, they just don't work for this technique, or my techniques as well. So I've drawn everything out on tracing paper and then transferred it onto my canvas. And I started with just painting it black. Actually, there was some ultramarine blue in mine just because that's what was on my palette at the time and I wanted to use it up. So let's go ahead and, in this case, I can take this off. I just wanted to show you how I got that on there. And I'm not going to throw this tracing paper away just in case I get crazy painting and I'm like, I just want to make sure my eye is where I originally drew it. Let's see. Jamie said, hi, thank you for being here tonight. I hope you're well. Thank you, Jamie. I'm here and very late. So I have that still flustered, like I need to calm down thing going on, which some would say is all the time with me. I am going to need a few brushes that I don't think I have out. 1 second. Let me disappear under the easel. Are these oils or acrylics? I think these are acrylics, but I also don't think it's the one that I want. I'm going to need a rake brush for sure tonight. So let's find that first. Actually, you know what? I'll wait on the rake brush and find it while I'm waiting for one of these layers to dry. So with this guy, I am going to start with the beak. Now, the background is really, it's just kind of that flat black. I may go back through later and airbrush it so that it's something that would be more likely to sell. I do think that this background is a little bit too blah for me. Normally I would do the whole background like some elaborate, whatever I was going to do first, but just for the sake of the live stream, I just went with a solid color so we don't have to worry about that. We're going to go ahead and start with his beak, and I need to get some paint out. So let's see. If you don't already have this reference photo, this is available over at patreon.com/Lachri. It's free. You don't have to be a member. And let's throw some paint out. And actually, somebody emailed me a really long question from Patreon tonight. So we're going to start with me answering that question, and I can link her over to the live stream because it was way more than I'm going to type out. I do not have time for that. I apologize for those who message me on Patreon or social media. I don't want to ignore you. It just, there's limited, like I can't get the videos done and answer everybody. And especially if it's a longer one like this one was. So we'll go through that. Whoops. Oh good, that is the right one. And what other color do I want in here? Maybe some red oxide. That sounds good to me. I'm definitely going to need some black. And all of the supplies that I'm using tonight are linked in the video description. So that first question that I wanted to bring up before we got started, somebody had asked from Patreon. Let's see. One second. It was a really long one. Juju Wee had said, I've been wondering for a while what made you choose Inktense over watercolor. For me, I just I never was really great with Inktense, with watercolor. Like it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, the layering process. I came from a background mainly of acrylics back when I chose those. Inktense came in my box, one of my Smart Art boxes, and I tried it and realized, wow, I like these better because they're permanent when they're dry. So I could layer in a very similar way to what I do in acrylics, but still get kind of a watercolor feel. And so that's what really drew me to the Inktense, was the fact that they're permanent when dry. In your video, you mentioned having it, okay, that isn't really, I answered that. You mentioned liking Strathmore drawing paper, but it being too thin. Have you tried the heavyweight drawing paper? I have not. The only heavyweight ones I've tried with them weren't equivalent to the drawing, so I just haven't looked into it. Would sandpaper react the same to OMS's pastel matte, and how you would achieve saturation so quickly? No, pastel matte and sanded paper are very different in the way you layer. You can make the end result look the same, but it would definitely give you a different, like it's very different. It's almost like, I feel like when I work on sanded paper, like I'm working in a different medium than when I'm working on pastel matte or watercolor paper. So those are definitely kind of two different animals there. And then what I suggest, Art Spectrum's Fine Tooth or Suede for colored pencil in general. That I can't tell you because I've never used any. So I just wanted to go cover those really quick because that would have, believe it or not, taken me forever to type out and explain. So there we go. Hope that helped. So let's see. Hi, Carol. And just as a reminder to everybody, I can't talk because I'm still flustered right now. Make sure to do the Lachri fine art if it doesn't highlight in orange. I won't see your question. Not because I'm trying to be a jerk, but that's what's going to happen. Jason, okay, there we go. Okay, so I think we can start after I have more coffee. I haven't even had my caffeine tonight yet. So, for the beak. This is a very important part with acrylics. And it's funny because there was a little girl that I met a couple weeks ago, and she had, her mom sells Scentsy. And if you don't know, I'm obsessed with Scentsy. Maybe you can talk her into doing a video with us. But anyway, the little girl had showed me her painting. She's obsessed with paintings, and she showed me, she thought her paintings were terrible because they were translucent. So, and it's funny because, I mean, she was a child, but it's something that a lot of people think. Being translucent is not an indication of whether or not the paint is good. It depends on what techniques you're going for. For me, translucent is very good, and that's what I'm going for. But let me show you, for those who are not aware of how this works with translucent paint. So I've got my yellow. Is my yellow even on camera? It's not. Hold on. I gotta fix this. You guys can't see my paint. Let's see if that will kind of, no, wrong direction. Wrong direction again. There we go. You can kind of see better now. Okay. I couldn't believe when I came in here and realized what time it was, and I'm like, I haven't even set up OBS, my editing software. So anyway, so here's the yellow. The yellow is very translucent. If I just try painting the beak yellow, I'm pretty much going to get green going over that dark background. Not going to be useful. So what I have to do is use an opaque color first. As a general rule, your more opaque color, like if there are some paints that are more opaque too that aren't white, but your unbleached titanium white or titanium white, just do a base of that first. So I'm going to go ahead and mix in some white. We'll go ahead and throw a little bit of yellow in it, but mostly it's the white, either did I say transparent mixing white? Either unbleached titanium white or titanium white. Either will work. And we're going to get a base so that we can then come back through and get those nice brighter colors for his beak. Look at the difference there, how that shows up versus you don't even see that yellow. So if you're struggling with your colors being translucent, put that white down first or mix it in with the color like I'm doing here to make it more opaque. The more of the titanium white that you use, or unbleached titanium white, both are very, very opaque, the more of that you use, the more opaque that color will be. So if I mix more yellow and less white, not going to be quite as opaque. Now I want to make sure I'm mixing water in with this so that I get that nice smooth look. I'm blending those together. I didn't even finish sketching things out here. Let's see, we'll just kind of have to freehand some of this in. No biggie. So here is his upper beak. It does come down a little there. Now right now, I'm just painting it flat. We're not worrying about shading, where the shadows are. None of that really matters yet. Right now, I just need to block in and cover up that black. I don't even care if it's perfectly blended. That doesn't really matter because we're going to be putting a lot of shading on top of this. Now I also need to get around his nostril there. Now notice that I did not just paint straight from the beak across the nostril. I'll lose my lines here because I painted them separate. I can see the brushstroke switch direction where that nostril was, and it makes it way easier for me than to know where that goes later on. Let's see. Christy said, I remember you saying once that the UArt or the Fisher 400 didn't have archival backing. Which one was it again? Both. UArt is worse, but neither are yeah, both, unfortunately. Sally said, hi, Muns, and wide, wonderful world. Jean? I can't read or talk. Said, when it's convenient, can you read out loud the markings on your General White charcoal pencil? Is it 558? By the way, I'm Jean, like someone who grants, oh, Jeannie, like someone who grants 3 wishes. Thank you for correcting that. Okay, Jeannie, and then because you gave me the like Jeannie, like I will actually probably remember your name now because of you giving me that way to associate it. I like fantasy stuff. So, okay, mine, unfortunately, oh, it does have some, 558. Okay, you can still see that, barely. Most of mine, as you can see, is completely worn off. I need to fix the color on this. Hold on. Oh, not that one. And now you know, don't ever borrow my paintbrushes. They've all been in my mouth. That's starting to look better. That's actually pretty good, I think. Let's see, yeah, that looks about right. Close anyway. Close. Well, I think I've got the color saturation done a little too much, and I'll have to adjust this a couple times as the light in the room changes, and I apologize for that. I've got my saturation turned down a little too low. That is kind of more accurate. We'll see. I'll probably mess with it again when the light adjusts. Whoa, that is blue. Hold on, that is not even close to being. Oh, only, and this actually though, as much as I would say I wish I was a little bit more prepared not running as late today, except this would, as the light changes, everything in here changes. So that wouldn't have been a huge thing. Nope, not that direction, not that. There we go. Closer. That is kind of, I mean, not exact. Yeah, kind of close. We'll go with that for now. Okay, let's see. Kirsty said, disappointing about UArt and Fisher 400. Do you know if pastel mat is archival on the backing? I've not tested it, but that one I haven't tested, so I'm not positive. I would say I would assume so, but I would have assumed so with the UArt and Fisher 400, so I'm not really sure there. I should test it. If you've got, you only should, just to find out, there's a pH neutral, like a thing that you can test if something is acid free that is used in scrapbooking. So you know whether or not it can be put in with your photo so it doesn't yellow the photos. And you can use that pen on the back to find out. But I should test that next time. I don't even know where my pen is anymore. After I tested the other ones, it was like, throw all the supplies away, I'm mad. But let's see. Jess said, I'm looking to try out the Derwent Inktense. I have a little money to splurge, but the 72 set is a bit expensive for me. Get a smaller set. You can mix and blend so well. So whatever is in your budget, go, that's totally fine. You're going to be able to blend and mix, and as long as you've got a white and a black, any of the other colors, you'll be able to mix easily from the smaller sets. Let's see. Jason said, would I change to another white for the underside of the beak or start the shadow? That is actually a really good question. And what I will do is kind of block them in separately. So we'll do that now. I was going to do that part after, but let's just go ahead. Here's a really light area. Now, what I can actually, almost an easier way to do this, just do the whole thing together, the whole bottom beak. Don't worry about the shadows, and then use your tracing and transfer paper again to transfer on where your shadows were. But in this case, I'm just going to kind of block them in loosely, and I'll do enough layers to smooth that out later. So you can kind of see where I'm almost dry brushing on this. So I'm lightening it up, but I can definitely see where that shadow will go. Okay, and while I have the yellow out, I may as well do around his eyes too. I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. Jeannie said, thanks, I ordered two. No art stores open in Washington. Ooh, yeah, ours opened up recently. I've been ordering online, but ours recently, I don't remember when, but I was pretty excited when they came back open. Let's see. Dan said, hey Lisa, I'm thinking of uploading art videos and narrations of scary stories on my channel. Any thoughts? That is unique. That's kind of a neat idea. So one of the things that's happening, I mean, the things that we've always done that kind of, you know, the tutorials and all that, they don't perform well anymore on YouTube. So, I mean, getting creative on what can you do differently. Like for me, one of the things that I'm starting to include more of, if I would freaking find the time to edit a video, which right now, since doing the 2 live streams a week, that's making it hard. But if I were to do that, I need to zoom in on this. I'm starting to include more with my animals, my plants, like just my everyday kind of life thing, that other things that interest me in addition to art. So I think that's a neat idea, like a really cool, unique, I love it. I might even watch that. That's pretty interesting. But trying to find something that separates you from everybody else, I think, is kind of a big deal. You don't want to be so different that no one's interested. I mean, there's a reason bigger channels do well, but we also need to keep looking for, oh wow, this yellow kind of continues all over in here. We need to look for other ways to separate ourselves from everybody else. Like everything else is kind of, everyone's just so used to seeing the same thing. And even like when I do my tutorials, most of my tips are the same way every time. So it's like, okay, it's time to start figuring out how do we make things more interesting on the channel. Besides sharing my animals and stuff, one of the things that I'm considering going back to doing, which is what I originally started with, instead of trying to do like a 20-minute lesson, is doing because the Patreon has the long lessons, and that's the people who are wanting to follow along usually go with that. But I thought about maybe focusing on, for me anyway, on going back to shorter, like 3 to 5 minute videos with music, just super sped up with music over it, and like no tips on those ones. And then it maybe a few standalone tip videos. But I've been considering, like seriously considering going back to that, because when I edit a video, like I've been for years, where there's kind of a lesson and all of that, they're not getting views. No one's watching them. I mean, they're getting some views. It's like, I shouldn't say no one, because some of you guys obviously are watching them, but they're just not getting the traction that they did. And I'm almost wondering if the shorter videos again on some of these, maybe do more vlogs where I do like a single art lesson. So I still want to teach for free on YouTube, but I'm thinking maybe a vlog where I do a smaller art lesson, and like a dedicated, this is the only thing we're talking about. But then for the full video, like the full thing, just doing a small one with, I don't know. I'm too trying to come up with things that are a little different than what I've been doing. I think your idea is wonderful. That's such a good idea. I mean, I don't know if it's going to perform super well or not, but I think it's worth a try. It's not going to hurt to try it. Let's see. Jess said, whoops, what set would you recommend for getting to start out in Inktense? Honestly, the more that you can afford, the better. I mean, I always go with the biggest set that I can afford, but with Inktense, if that's a 12 set, still fine. You can do everything you need as long as you can get the individual white Inktense block and the black. I think the black comes in it, but the white doesn't. As long as you've got those, you're fine. Now, somebody had mentioned earlier to me, and I still need to respond to her, that the Inktense in Australia, that they're not selling them open stock anymore, which is horrible. And if that's the case, I don't know if it's just that one store. I don't know what the deal is. I would say everyone should contact Derwent and be like, hey, we really want those back. I'm not sure why those aren't going open stock over there, or if it's a specific store, but definitely worth looking into. Let's see. He's going to need a yellow beak. Okay, I'm going to do that after the beak. We're just going to focus on the beak right now. And that's pretty much almost dry, so I can almost go on to the next stage there. So we'll let that set for a minute. Let's see. But yeah, whatever your budget is, any set, even the smallest set, as long as you can get that individual white, is really, really good. Let's see. Whoops, that just jumped. Where were we? I really wish YouTube wouldn't do that with the chat. Susan wants more Inktense lessons. I just uploaded one to Patreon for the dolphin with the earth and moon. So that one is up now. From what art store do you get your sanded paper for powder blender now? So I used to order Fisher 400 from, what was it called? I don't remember the name of it now. Oh, my brain is shutting down. But there was a ProArtPanels.com is where I used to order my Fisher 400 because I would get it pre-mounted. But now that I don't use them because of the whole archival issue, I go with, I just use the Lux Archival and I get that directly from the maker from brushandpencil.com. So that is where I'm getting it. But I think Dick Blick has that available too. Am I going to do Patreon live streams again? Yeah, eventually. But right now I cannot do 3 in a week. Like it's... Although, actually, if I run out of time getting something done, I might need to. But yeah, the Patreon only live streams, I definitely plan on doing. I mean, I don't know how the schedule is going to work out as far as continuing with this many live streams in a week. It really depends on how many people are watching because, like right now, 200. That's not amazing. Like, I mean, I'm super grateful you guys are here. But what I'm saying is, would you guys, like, if only 200 people are watching, would people then, does that mean people would prefer me to make more edited videos? I don't know. Like, when I say it's not amazing, I'm not saying it's not amazing that you're here. I'm saying, how can I make people happier? You know, like, do you want more edited vlog type? I don't know. But I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with all of that. Because and part of it just the YouTube is algorithm and they're not sharing the content with people anymore. So if in that case, I can ask you guys to share it, but share, hit like, which really helps. I've got to figure out how everything's going to work out. But once that gets settled, I can kind of figure out a schedule going forward with that. They have one more house that's being built kind of across and over from me. Once that's done, a lot of the noise that makes editing hard is going to back off. So that is another contributing factor to what I'm editing versus doing live streams because at opposite ends of the house. I'm rambling. I'm sorry. I have to figure out what that schedule is going to look like before I can schedule additional live streams. But yeah, I mean, we will definitely be doing more for Patreon as well. Let's see. I guess the short answer of that is yes. The long answer is I have to figure out a schedule going forward and trying to figure out what works. Let's see. Okay, I got that one. Jody said, I don't have a tardy slip. I was mounting back Inktense on some mount board. You know, I don't have one either. I was also late, so I can't judge. Casey said, was watching one of your old videos and was wondering if you still use lights. I don't. I use one. It's a daylight bulb. I got it on Amazon, and this thing is way better. It's more adjustable all around from how the arms swing. This one is amazing. If it's not in the video description, I think it's on my website. I need to look into that. But this, yeah, I've switched. And lights are still good, but they're very, very expensive for considering the fact that these I actually like a lot better. This one was like 50, 55-ish, somewhere around that range. I don't remember the price. Whereas my light with a coupon was like $125. So that's a big difference. Paul said, oh my gosh, Lisa, I'm actually looking for an eagle tutorial. Thank you. Oh, nice. Brent, and this was actually one of you guys, was it you who suggested it? Somebody had requested an eagle. So here I am using my raw sienna. I always get those backwards. I'm going to start building up the shadows here. So you might look at that and think, oh, just use orange. And you could, but raw sienna I think is a better color without being too kind of crazy with that color saturation. Now I've got white, the dry, there's like a dry flaky area that will go on top of this. So I can actually go all the way up to that nostril with this. I'm using a tackle and bristled filbert here. I can go ahead and use this to fill in the bottom part of the beak as well. Brent Does Art said, I really wanted to follow along with you, but I didn't have time to get ready due to finally being able to have baseball practices. Well, that sounds like I'm sure that was totally worth it. Visions of the Heart said, hello, would you have any good suggestions for what kind of light lamps can use to create natural lighting for nighttime so I'm not limited to painting during the day? I use a lamp, and like I mentioned earlier, I think it's on my website. I don't think I have it listed here, but if you go to my website, lachri.com, check under acrylic supplies or colored pencil supplies. I should have a light listed. It's one from Amazon. It has these two arms that stick out, like super adjustable. I absolutely love it. But that's the one that I'm using now. But yeah, any daylight bulb really should work fine for you. But it's important if you're painting at night, you want a daylight bulb. Like I was saying before, OttLight used to kind of be the go-to brand for those, but now you have enough other companies who are making them that, using a little bit more yellow, let's get some Rossine in there too, but enough other companies are making it that you don't have to spend quite as much as you used to need to when that was the only option out there. Now, I don't care if I'm being super careful as I lay this in. I've got to clean up these edges anyway a bit later. Okay. Now we've got this shadow under the beak there, and I can do this while it's still wet. I'm going to take a smaller brush. I'm going to mix some of my red oxide. You don't have to have the same colors. Go for close. I'm going to mix a bit of raw sienna in that as well, so it's a bit darker. We're going to get this right under the beak here. A little bit more water. My paint's drying a bit fast there. We've got a shadow under the beak here. Now, this shadow doesn't have to be perfect first time through. I can come back through, lighten areas up, darken it up. Not a big deal. We go right under that part of the beak here. This is just the first layer. Big greyhound sigh in the background. I don't know if you guys can hear them when they do that. I like to do that when I'm recording my Patreon voiceovers. I've got a bit more. I'm going to kind of dab and smudge in there. Oh, that paint's still too wet. I can't do much there, so must leave that alone as much as I want to mess with that. I'm just looking at where on my reference photo are those darker colors or values. You can get creative too. You don't have to go with these same colors for the shadows. Shadows with like purple would have worked really well for this. And then when this dries, I can come back with a brighter yellow for the bright areas, and we'll just do a bit of a glaze. I'm going to put a little bit right around here, which I might regret because that paint is not dry. Oh no, that's fine. Just smudge that out. Let's see. Angela said, could you could have a guest speaker? What were we talking about? I apologize, Angela. Whatever, if you guys could, because the chat ends up being so much, I read it way after whatever we were talking about. My brain has already cleared out that part of the conversation. So if you could like remind me what it was we were talking about when you have questions, that makes it easier for me. Because I have no memory. Where were we? You're making me nervous. You're my lifeline to sanity. Don't change too much. Well, and I still will be painting the same things. It's just like what a different format, and I formatted differently over the years. I went from when I first started painting but that's good. If this is what you prefer, I need to know that too, or, my normal way of editing. But I've changed over the years where I used to do just the short 3 to 5 minute videos, because back then anything over 3 minutes, you lost viewers on YouTube. So over the years, I've changed it and done longer lessons. But it's like one of the things that's happening is these lessons, they're the same week after week after week. I mean, I'm not really giving new amazing tips that you haven't heard before. And so you don't get views from that. And then like I had said before, YouTube really, the way the algorithm works, when there's drama and conflict and people are arguing with each other, and so more people start watching because they come back to argue some more, or they just want to hear the drama talk, whatever, those videos perform well on YouTube, just the way that the algorithm works, whether it's intentional or not. That's just how it is. And that's not what I do. So I'm like, I have to find a way to be a bit more interesting than what I currently am, but still push, teaching videos. Teaching is what the channel is all about. So I have to figure out ways to kind of incorporate making things a bit more interesting so more people want to watch them. So I'm not sure what that's going to look like, But as far as my numbers go, I mean, part of that I can certainly blame on the change with YouTube's algorithms have changed things. And I hear from people all the time where YouTube doesn't tell them when I have a new video, or they don't tell them when I went live. So the best thing you can do there, if you're not getting that information, make sure you're signed up to my newsletter. It should be linked in the video description, but that's free. And every week I send out a new one of whatever video went up, what live streams are coming out, all of that is there. But definitely subscribe to that. Add some white to the eye while I'm waiting for that to dry. So just on this bottom section needs to be a bit lighter. But yeah, it's like you have to adapt the videos, and whether you want to or not, in order if you want to keep relevant enough that people still watch. I mean, my channel's growth has been great with subscribers, but my view count doesn't reflect that. Like I don't get views, which tells me people don't like what I'm currently producing. So what can I do differently? Now, also, to be fair, I'm not producing videos on a regular, besides live streams as often as I was. So there's one thing I can change to improve. Get back on a schedule, which I really should be. I'm going to start kind of dotting in. You've got this little, where the beak, some of it is shine, some of it is where the beak, the beaks on birds, it's similar to your fingernail, where how you'll get like little ridges, or the dry bits kind of scraping up. That's what a lot of this is in here. So I want to make sure I include that. And then of course some was just shine, like right there, we can make that a shine spot. Jason said, is doing learning with Lisa like different products that you're not used to? I went online and checked for Inktense and went there and it wasn't there. Huh? What are you talking about? Is doing learning with Lisa different products that you're not used to? I'm not sure what you're asking. Do you feel, Jason, like I never know what you're talking about? Because I swear I misunderstand what you write more often than not, and I apologize. Boots Mama said, I think the shorter tutorials would be great. They're what made me want Patreon. See, and I think that's good too. That makes a good point too, because like Patreon's what, 1 to 2 hours long usually each week. If I'm doing the same thing on YouTube, like it's already in one. We don't need both. So yeah. And the shorter ones did and things changed, because I say the shorter ones used to perform better. They'd sure be easier for me to edit. Like, I mean, I could easily have one edited in less than an hour, like way less than an hour, and have it look all nice. And yeah, maybe. I mean, even if it's just trying it out and seeing what happens, like try 2 different ways and see which one gets more views. As it is right now, I'm like so behind on stuff that needs to be edited. So we can need some highlights in here, and some of these aren't going to stay this white. I'm going to put yellow over them. So even though, like I showed you over the black earlier, where you put the yellow on the black, it's too translucent. So here, it's the same thing. Even though I'm onto a lighter yellow, it's still going to be too translucent. So if I put the white, then I can glaze that brighter yellow. It'll show up really nicely. Count Olaf said, I personally prefer the regular live streams over the edited vlog type videos. That is, see, and I think that God, I cannot talk tonight, I'm sorry. The live streams, my gosh, my brain, they seem to be performing a lot better. I'm getting way more views. And so it's like, as long as that keeps going, it makes more sense to continue with these more than edited stuff. I don't know, another option might be too, for like shorter vlogs, like if we were just going to do like maybe a 20-minute vlog, have a vlog where we pick a topic and we all just talk about that topic and chat about it. So I've had like, that might be kind of a cool thing to do too. I'm not sure. So it's less random. It's more searchable on YouTube. So someone who's like, hey, I want to know about some specific topic, that video would be easy for them to search. Whereas live streams don't, like they're harder to search usually unless it's a paint along. Oh, caffeine. How I needed you. Emily said, I'm surprised you don't use more opaque white for this blocking in stage, like golden fluid white or Liquitex soft body white. It may make the next layers brighter. Well, I am. This is my transparent mixing white, or I keep saying transparent mixing white, titanium white. So it is both of these colors are very opaque. So, I mean, you're not going to get more opaque than that. Liquitex titanium white is quite opaque. And I like it better than like the soft body Liquitex. So the soft body Liquitex, I love the bottles it comes in. That paint dries really, really fast. So even though like I tried it and I'm like, I really want to love you because I love the packaging you come in. You're super convenient, but you dry so darn fast. We actually had that conversation. By we, I mean me and the bottle of Liquitex soft body. So I keep going back to the one that costs less, which is funny, not because it costs less. I guess it's the only the only art supply I think I use that the cheaper one is like my favorite is the Liquitex Basics. Now, one of the reasons that this looks a little bit more translucent too is I'm using a fair amount of water to get it the consistency that I want. So that's gonna make it a little bit more translucent. Jess said, just ordered Inktense 24 set. Thanks for the recommendation. Yeah, they're 24, you can mix anything you need from that. DJ said, thank you for doing an eagle. Love these chickens. I requested the eagle. Okay, good. I knew someone. I'm glad you're here for it. I listed him as a proud Anger chicken, sky chicken. Now the beak is something that I will typically spend extra time on because it really makes a difference in your work. The beak and the eyes are the two like things that a lot of people are just going to be drawn to or going to notice first. I need to hurry this guy along. Time-wise, if we want to finish him tonight. Now, you, of course, can take a little bit more time. Yours should be able to look a bit better than mine, just because you will have more time. It's just looking at, like, where are my highlights, where are my shadows? That's really what I'm focusing on here. Okay, we're going to let that dry. Going to come up to the eye. So I'm going to grab some black. I'm going to mix a bit of my red oxide in it so it's not too black. Gypsy said, ripped my watercolor paper I use for color pencil, so I decided to test spray the brush and pencil texture fixative on it to see if it would work. So far it blends without cracking, scratches, or without flaking. Well, that's good. Yeah, I tried my first attempt with powder blender using texture fixative was to spray it a heavy amount of the texture fixative first. Didn't work. But I was actually using powder blender for that. So we need to get a nice shadow in here. I'm going to take a clean brush. I'm going to smudge that down into the eye. Oops, too much water is on that brush. There we go. Get that shadow in there. And we've also got a pretty good shadow going on under here, so I'm just going to put a little bit of that here and smudge that out. Vision of the Heart said, thank you so much for your light suggestions. You're welcome. I hope you find that one. Melissa said, I really love your live streams because we get the best of both worlds, a tutorial and the ability to ask really specific questions. Yeah, and the one thing that I really like with the live streams is that I don't have to edit them. So that's like a huge bonus for sure. There's definitely some good stuff to be said for doing the live streams. I mean, I'll always do at least, I don't plan on changing at least the Wednesday night live stream. My thing is, do I keep doing the Friday live stream? Because if I do the Friday live stream, that would normally be a time I would get a vlog or something edited. And that's why I've got all of these videos I've recorded, but I haven't edited them. So that's going to be something I've got to figure out. Okay, I'm gonna leave that alone for now. The eye is not done, but I'm gonna go ahead and start building up the feathers. And this is where I needed that brush I couldn't find earlier. Okay, where is it? So I'm definitely going to want that. It's a rake brush, and so I can get a really quick look of feathers very, very quickly. Let me climb under here. Hope I don't fall off my stool. My stool has wheels, so way too often I'll bend down to get something and it goes sliding out from under or behind me. These are my acrylics, or no, are these my oil brushes? I don't know. This is not the one that I want. It might be, I mean, I can probably work with that a bit, but that's not a very good one. I think I'm going to have to go look and see if I've got them stored somewhere else. 1 second. Make do with a different brush. It's a low Cornell rake brush. Oh, it's sitting right here. Like, seriously, right where my other brushes were. Wow, that is really damaged, which means it's gonna work pretty well. Okay. Also, while I was looking for this, I found my watercolor palette, which I've been missing. So, you know, wasn't a total waste. Let's see. Oh, that just jumped. We had Pamela. Thank you, Carla, for the super chat. Oh, thank you. That gave me goosebumps. Where? Scrolling. Carla said, I vote for the longer videos. That's good. See, and this is helpful for me, for you guys to tell me what it is that you want. Definitely helps. Let's see. Scrolling back up. I know. No. Oh my gosh, I've missed so many questions. I need to get through, start answering these more. There we go. Pamela said, yes, I love the shorter videos you used to do. I actually still watch them. And I may do both, because those shorter ones take almost no time to edit. Like, I've already put the video together because of Patreon. So those ones would not take me long. I need to at least start doing those and then possibly get like caught up later on doing longer ones after. Maya said, how do you tell if a color is cool or warm? Is there a test you can do if you're not sure? I look it up if I'm not sure, but for the most part, you can kind of look at it and tell, I guess, just experience, but you should be able to look up a color chart, or if you did a color swatch, and this is the challenge though, if you can get an accurate swatch color that you can scan into the computer, you could do a color thing to show you, okay, where does that lean on the color wheel? That might help. But I don't know of any like trick. Maybe there's one. I never really thought that much about it, honestly. But the color itself, you might be able to look up from the brand. It might give you some kind of information. I'm not sure if it tells you that. I mean, like the Liquitex, it tells you the light fastness, how opaque it is, and the pigment. Like in this one, synthetic red, iron oxide. Yeah, it doesn't say warm or cool, but I don't know. I don't think that much about it as I'm working, so I'm no help. I apologize. Angela said, the idea of having a guest speaker on your video, Zoom, for like 10 minutes as an idea for something different, maybe someone from Fredericks, for example. I love that idea, and I've considered doing that. And I want to do more collaborations with people too. The problem is when you do stuff like that, it takes so much work to coordinate. So when I used to do the Colored Pencil podcast, that was always a thing. That was an ongoing challenge, is trying to coordinate when when you can both do it at the same time. Like it's a bit of work. So I love the idea, but it's definitely, I like it for quicker vlogs. And especially like Fredericks, I bet I could get, I wonder who's on there. We could have like a Q&A about canvases. I like it. I need to think more about that and how to make that work and be more practical. I really like that idea though. And we got that one. Heather said, you forgot to teach me something. To not spill huge amounts of water on colored pencil piece and not panic initially. Picture is safe and dry now. There you go. If you can dry it like with a hairdryer, if it's taped down, it'll be fine. Don't do what I did the other night. I had wine in here. I hadn't even drank any yet. It was just sitting there to warm up because it was in the fridge, so it was still too cold. I went to pick it up, and my arthritis in my hands have been so bad, I'm dropping things really badly. That's why I store things in my mouth now. But I picked it up. It went over my laptop. It went over the remote to my projector. I still don't know if that one's going to work. I mean, it went all over. And it wasn't a ton. It was more like a splash, but it was like, you don't do that. Water is much safer. Luckily, it didn't get on any art. Let's see. Melissa said, but the best part of live streams is feeling a sense of belonging and friendship with such an amazing artist. Thank you. And see, that's what I like too. I get to connect with you guys way more than I otherwise would in like an edited video. So, I definitely myself really enjoy doing the live streams. So like I said, those aren't gonna stop. It's just a matter of, do I want to do them twice a week or once a week? Like figuring that out. I enjoy the live streams too much to stop. Catherine said, what brand are the pan pastels? That is the brand. I'm pretty sure that's just the brand. Pan pastels are like their own thing. You don't have multiple brands of those. Unless someone correct me if I'm wrong, but pretty sure that is the brand. Okay, so I'm using this brush. It's a rake brush, and it's a really damaged one. So imagine your normal brush would be like a tack-on bristled filbert, would be like this. A rake brush, the bristles are like this. So with one stroke, you get a whole bunch of brush strokes all at once. And this is too much water, so I'm not really getting a whole bunch of strokes there. So I'm just going to start blocking in which direction the feathers go. I'm not going to sit and try to make all of the feathers exact to the reference photo. We would be here all night long. I'm going to use a bit more white on this. It's important that I let the shadows from the black of the paper show through. That's a huge reason, or going to save me a ton of time. Let that black paper work for you. Okay, this brush might be too damaged. Now, if you have a brush, just as a tip, that's really damaged, don't throw it out. There's certain techniques that it'll be perfect for. So here, these are short feathers. So I'm just going to dab those in there. I'll have to do a couple of layers. This first layer is going to be very flat. This is what I would call a blocking in stage. Nothing's going to be perfect here. I've got shadows to do. I've got all kinds of stuff. We're just dabbing. Catherine said, okay, got that one. Susan said, I really enjoy these live lessons. Good, I'm glad. Casey said, do you think that you might do a poll in the newsletter? Might do a poll in the newsletter to see if people want things to stay the same or change. I might, or maybe on Facebook would be easier to do like that would make a good Facebook post. Like, do you want longer, shorter, more live streams, like what people are looking for? I'd like to do, and then everyone can see what everyone's looking for too, and gives people a place to have suggestions on what they'd like to see. I'm going to have to post that this week. I love it. Good idea. Visions of the Heart said, all the video lessons on Patreon look amazing. I can't wait to start learning painting. Do you have a choice few that are your favorite that you think would be easy or fun for beginners? So it depends on the medium. For colored pencil, any of the live colored pencils, there's a few of those, like simple, a bell. There was one bell, I'm trying to think what we did. There was one of a clownfish and an anemone. Any of those live ones are going to be something that's very easy because it's something that we had to get done in a few hours. Those are longer than these live streams, but those would be a good choice to get started. For acrylic painting, there's a fish, a copper-banded butterfly. He's really good. He's kind of your beginner intro level to colored or to acrylic painting. I would definitely not go with a portrait to start with, but it depends on which medium. Rebecca said, "Hi Lisa, long time no see. You look great. So glad you're still on. Thank you." Where were we? When SG said, "I really love your product reviews. I go back and watch them over and over, especially when I've gotten one of the products you recommend, but I need help putting it to use." Yeah, and you know what? I was thinking about that yesterday or today. I forget which day. One of those days I was thinking about this. I really haven't done a lot of product reviews. I used to do a ton of them, but I feel like I have so many supplies, I kind of stopped buying new things. I definitely should, like I just keep buying now the same things over and over again. I need to look at some new stuff. And you see, even when I used to do the Smart Art Box, I need to do more of those because Smart Art Box I still get them every month. So it's like, here's a box full of supplies you probably haven't used. I could make a great video out of it, and I need to do those. That's something I need to kick my own butt for. Like, I have them. Why am I not doing videos? Those are fun. I thought about doing one with the Smart Art Box too, like a wine night with my neighbor. She likes to play with the art supplies. Like, both of us have our own box of different things and just kind of either do a live stream with everybody while we worked on our projects. I don't know how to set it up with the cameras though, so I don't know if that would work, but I thought about having that kind of like two different projects going at the same night type thing. Okay, so I'm getting too messy. I'm actually not happy with, well, actually, that'll be fine as a base, but I'm going to dab that. I'm going to have to put highlights on. This brush isn't working real well for what I'm doing there. So I'm going to come back to that. Jason said, "Get out of the yard and back into your office." Yeah, I definitely have spent more time in the yard doing stuff. Although most of the stuff in the yard now, I mean, I have to water in the mornings, but most of the stuff in the yard, like the big projects that I was doing, are pretty much done. I should still be picking rocks out, but it's just too hot, so I almost never do that anymore. The other thing that I want to do, and I don't know how it would work sound wise, I thought it'd be fun to live stream, like do a live painting outside, maybe paint the yard, I don't know. Thought that would be kind of a fun thing to do. So I'm just looking at my reference photo, and all I care about are the direction that the feathers are going and that they're about the right size. I'm not going to sit here. I mean, in a video this short, we can't sit and paint every feather exact, which I probably wouldn't do anyway. If you followed me for very long, you know I'm not one to sit and make it all exact. The goal is to look at your reference photo. Are the feathers going in the right direction and about the right size? That's really what I'm worrying about here. Now I will come back, and this looks blue. Hold on, let me see if I can fix this color now that it's night in here. Let's see. It kind of helped. Yeah, that's probably as good as that's going to get. It looks, no, it's not. That has to be able to get better. That looks really blue. There we go. Much better. Okay, there we go. Much more accurate. Carla said, okay, read that one. Carla voted for the longer videos. When SG said, "I like your quicker tutorials that are specific. For example, how to paint a galaxy, how to use a liner brush, etc." And you know, those videos perform better than my fuller ones. So I definitely need to, and let me know if there's like a specific technique that you would like me to do I'll post it over on my Facebook page. But let me know when I ask for like suggestions, because I'll refer back to that since I'm not writing everything down right now. Illusionist Day said, "I'm totes excited for the new Luminance pencils." Yeah, I'm interested in those myself. Jason said, "It was ideas for broadcast on here. Yes, I seem to not get questions across. I tried to get Inktense products at Michael's, and computer said yes, and store was no." Oh no. Michael's carries the Inktense, but I think they have the pencils and not the blocks. Like, I have to get those when I've ordered myself. I had to get them from Blick. Even when I went in, I'm like, I'm taking photos. My profile photo I use on Facebook, that one was taken in a Michael's, I believe. And it was just the small set of pencils is all they had. Mary Beth said, the live streams feel almost like a treat, but being able to ask you questions, nice option. Yeah, definitely. I enjoy that part too. Let's see. Cat's Art Pick said, where would a good place to sell my artwork online? I would try Etsy and eBay. Etsy, I don't know on Etsy. I didn't have great luck on Etsy, but I haven't tried in years. I haven't tried either one in years, honestly. I had much better luck myself with eBay and with the way that platform is, because the way Etsy was, you had, like, if you listed something and somebody else listed after you, their stuff will always be, like, every time someone lists something in your category, let's say for me it was Italian Greyhound paintings or Italian Greyhound prints. When someone else came and listed their Italian Greyhound prints, mine would drop down. So every time somebody else lists something in that category, mine gets further and further down the list. The only way to bump mine back up the list is to pay a new listing fee again, which is really messed up, because you would initially look at it and go, well, the cool thing about Etsy is one listing fee would last for a really long time. Yeah, but you get lost in the crowd. Like, you really, your stuff does not get found by people. So, and with eBay, it was the opposite. When you're listing, the older it is, well, depending on what people are using for their settings, of course. But the default setting on eBay, the longer, or like the closer you come to the end of your listing, the further up on the search engine it is. So that was kind of a big deal for me at the time. Now, whether or not that would still matter, I don't know. But the people I know of who are successful, whether it be eBay or Etsy, the ones who are most successful are listing their stuff on, they've got a social media following already. And that is where people are finding them. They're just sending them to Etsy or to eBay. I mean, stuff like the girl who makes the keys that I buy, they're winged keys, so it looks like Harry. They make me think of Harry Potter, which I love. But I have a bunch of them framed in my office. The girl who makes those, when she lists them, within hours, they're completely sold out, because she's got that following on Instagram, and everybody wants them. So, you have to kind of build that following first, no matter what platform you're using, in order to sell more. So again, just kind of figuring out the general direction, general shape. Doesn't need to be exact. Gypsy Heart said, would a video explaining what brushes are used for what medium technique? I go by what you said, brushes you're using, but I'm uneducated as to why you explain or why you choose certain brushes for certain techniques. I probably should just tell you guys why I'm choosing a brush. Now, honestly though, half the time the reason I choose a brush is because I'm too lazy to grab a different brush and that one's close. Like, I'm not super picky when it comes to brushes, so I don't know how helpful I would be in that matter. But like in this case, it's just because it's frayed, I can get a whole bunch of feathery marks very quickly, and being that this does need to be done quickly, that's important today. But normally, like, the main brushes you'll see me use are tackle and bristled filberts and rounds. Also tackle and bristled rounds, especially with acrylics, because they're just a good, like, stiffness, the tackle and bristle, and I use a golden Taklon. Those are just really nice for acrylics. And the filbert, the reason that I typically will use those is you don't have a really harsh start, and it's easier not to have a harsh start and stop point like a flat you would get. And then the round is, I'll switch to those when I need more, like a little bit more control, more detail, like when I worked around the eye. And you'll see me go back to those again in a bit. Now we're going to come back and do a lot of work to these feathers. So this is just getting them blocked in so we know about where everything goes. Jason said, oh, not the water discussion. No, Lisa, not the water. What were we talking about? See, now I'm wondering if you're just screwing with me and throwing, that was a bad way to word that, and throwing out random things. So I'll be completely confused, which would not be hard for me to do. Water discussion. Was there a water discussion? Said, do you have an Instagram account? I do, and it's linked in the video description. Gypsy Heart said, and on brushes, how to tell what kind of brush bristle you are looking at. Sometimes the brushes I have bought don't say synthetic or hog hair, so learning how to tell would be nice. I don't always know on mine. Some of mine, like the generic ones, don't say. If it's listed as an acrylic brush, like when I bought them, I know that's probably going to be a tack-on bristle. As far as what, here's the thing. Don't overthink it. Pick up a brush, make a few brush strokes. If you don't like the results you're getting, put down the brush, pick up a different brush, make a few brush strokes. If you don't like, then you just repeat that process. And I know that's not the answer you're looking for, but the thing with art is everything is, it's a big trial and error. You're going to experiment. And unfortunately, like, you can read every book, you can watch every video when they're saying, this is why you choose this brush, this is why you choose that brush. You might completely want a different brush and get the same result. There's no like, this is always the brush I'm going to use for this technique. This is always the brush for that one. This is a synthetic hog here. This is a whatever. I let you guys know so you know what to look for, you know, when I mention what brush I'm using, but it's not, honestly, I could be using a synthetic hog here right now and get a similar result. Most of it is how you learn to handle that brush. It's not as much about like, I have to use that exact brush. I have several brushes sitting next to me. I'm not sure what some of these are. I'll pick it up and I'll try it. And if I don't get the look that I want, I'm going to try a different one. And I know that sounds like I'm oversimplifying it, but it really is that easy. The thing is, you just have to be willing to pick up a brush, try it, see what results you get, put it down if you don't like it, and try another one. It ends up being like a sixth sense. You'll pick one up like right away within a couple brush strokes. You're like, yeah, that one's not working for me. But you're not going to find that. You're not going to get to that stage until you start painting more. Like, I would not waste too much time looking for a very specific answer to that question, because so much of it is personal preference, and just pick up a brush and try it. The brushes that I use, like, I remember years and years ago, I did not understand how you used mixing medium with oil paint. So I went to this oil painter guy's house and he was showing me that, and he had me bring my supplies, and he went through all my brushes, and anything that was fairly small, he tried tossing them out. And I'm like, what the heck are you doing? Those are my preference. And to this day, his work, well, I don't think he's still with us, but his work was not what my goal was. My goal required different brushes from his. I just needed someone to show me. I didn't like liquid. All I needed was a quick demonstration. And this man was kind of an old, any excuse to get a girl to his house he was going to do. And so he talked me into that. And I didn't I kind of suspected it, but didn't super realize it at the time. Like, he wasn't handsy, but he had a reputation. So anyway, he use that, like, that's why I ended up over there with the supplies, because I'm like, well, if someone's willing to take the time and show me some more tips, whatever. But it cracked me up that he was like, no, these are the brushes I use, so you're not going to want those same brushes. One, I didn't like the results he got for the most part, and two, they are still to this day brushes that I use. So, you know, it's hard when somebody says this is the brush, like, you really are going to, as an individual artist, figure out what's comfortable to you. There's definitely no one right way. And as far as like, it doesn't matter to me if something is called synthetic hog hair. The only reason that I use those terms or tell you that that's what I grabbed is because people ask what I'm using. I don't think it makes a big difference. Give me synthetic hog hair, give me a tack-on bristle. With the one exception to that for me are the liner brushes. I definitely prefer that synthetic hog hair. This in a specific one from Hobby Lobby. I haven't found an alternative that I like as much. But other than that, like, don't overthink things. Just pick up a brush and paint. And if you're not getting the results you like, pick up a different brush and try that one. Joshua said, being a woodworker as well, I have watched 99% of content creators in that field go to the shorter videos. As someone looking to learn, I steer away from them. I don't learn anything. Yeah, and see, the thing is too, I have Patreon for people who are like serious about learning, and Patreon I keep cheap enough that anyone who can afford art supplies, hopefully Patreon would be in the budget. I know that's not going to be the case for everybody, and I apologize. I'm not trying to offend anyone, but I try to keep that the option very low for somebody who's really trying to learn. But I don't think I'll ever cut out having some of the longer ones free on YouTube. But it's like, people just aren't watching them. And that's kind of where I'm like, how many people really want to watch them then? Or is it simply YouTube is not sharing it with people? And it may be that simple, or that I'm not producing enough or often enough with those. Like, there's so many factors in there. But the unfortunate reality for me is they're not being watched. So it's like I make them and I'm all excited because, I mean, they take a lot of work and then the views are not there. This looks terrible at this stage. So don't freak out if yours does too. It's supposed to. And after this, we get to really start building and making it look nice. This is not the fun stage to me. Yeah, what I keep going back and forth on is it's like I've got the long tutorials on Patreon. So is that why the longer ones on YouTube don't do as well? I don't know. Starving Artist Collective said, my vote, please don't change the live streaming. Like hearing your thoughts and stories and reading what others do, say, think. Makes for an engaging 2 hours. Yeah, definitely I'm not going to change Wednesday night. This is what I do Wednesday nights. I've been doing it that way for years. So that's not going to change. I'm just trying to figure out like the Friday, should I keep doing Friday live streams or should I spend that time editing videos? The other thing that's really hard too, so it's not just the 2 hours, like coming up with ideas, although I've been reaching out to you guys on ideas. Like this one came from one of your suggestions, which makes it way easier when I have something specific to look for. Because I run out, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to paint for this week. But the planning of it takes a lot longer too. So that, again, one more thing that cuts into potential editing time. That like 2 times a week you're thinking, or 1 time a week? Like, what do you guys think? Again, I'll post this over online. Jason said you actually finish on a Wednesday. I haven't seen that one yet. You actually, huh? I don't understand. Still think you're just screwing with me and throwing random things up there. Hector said, thank you for all the information you give us. I binge watch after my surgery. Oh no, I hope you're healing well. Do you do personal lessons, video or in person? I don't have time. So that is not something that I offer anymore. I used to, but not anymore, because all these videos take up all my time. Okay, I need to get some brown just at the edge here. So I'm going to mix my red oxide and black. And this is pretty solid. This is kind of in the shadow, and I just need to get the hint of that. I'm not going to worry about opaque colors or anything like that, or the feathers. I'm just going to give that hint. Okay. Where were we? Whoops. That just jumped way too far. Where were we? I'm scrolling. This will take me a minute to figure out where we were because it jumped apparently really far. Oh my gosh, where were we? Wow, I'm missing a bunch of questions. I've got to come through here. There we go. Okay, Sarah said, if we don't have a rake brush, what's the next best thing for feathers? I would use, if you have it, a tack-on bristled brush that's kind of damaged, a filbert, that is just a little bit frayed, not in the best condition. Those work really well. The trick with that is very similar to how you would use a rake brush. You're just not pushing very hard with it. So by not applying a ton of pressure, just letting the tips of the bristles touch, and you thin out your paint, of course, you can get this kind of scratchy look that works. Okay, so now we are going to start building up where the shadows go, and then I'll come back with white highlights that will kind of solidify this. Right now he looks like he just got out of a bath. He's a hot mess. Brett said, I prefer the live streams. It's how we get to know you, not only as an artist, but as a person. The short edited ones are good for product reviews and things of that nature. That's good. I'm thinking you're probably right on with that. Jess said, love the longer videos, especially the live streams. Sometimes I just listen to them while I do my own art. So interesting to listen to you talk and answer questions and watch your progress. Another vote for live streams. Shaz says, I love your live streams. Please don't stop them. And I promise I won't stop them completely because I enjoy them too. It just 2 a week, 1 a week. Plus your artwork is awesome. Thank you. And I was also thinking, so one of the things that happens with the live streams, we are more limited in, I'm going to start coming through with blocking where the brown's going to go. But we're a little bit, time-wise, we're not going to do anything super advanced or super detailed just because we are limited on time. So what if we did like parts, like part one Wednesday, the next Wednesday, we finish it. So, and that lets everyone get caught up during the week if they were following along. So I was thinking, let me know what you guys think about that. I was considering doing something like that too. So we could do things that are a little bit more involved than something that it has to be done in a couple of hours. This is still too dark. More raw sienna. Sally said, I like the idea of a topic, but ADHD, I probably still couldn't stay on topic. I also like the idea of stream making a cool color chart with warm and cold color chart too. I've never even thought of doing, that's just, so I'm not one who makes color swatches or charts or anything like that because it's really time consuming and I've never found it to be that useful, like myself, for me anyway. I'm just like, I pick up a color, I'm like, yeah, no, don't like this one, put it down, try a different color. Like I focus more on my values than I do my colors. I'm not super worried myself about them. So I've never been one to really take the time to do color charts for anything. The only color charts I have, one of my students made me a really cool one for Inktense. So I could, I have that list I can refer back to. I'm just going to spread that out where that kind of browner shadow goes. So this is a glaze. This is just a brush with water because this was coming on too thick. I'm just spreading that around. I'll come back through with the white and put highlights on top of some of this. But we've got these brown bits. I'm going to make that a little bit more opaque now that I've decided I'm going to use this technique. Good example here, there are more than one way, like there's multiple ways to get to pretty much the same end. And then this I actually don't want in here. I'm gonna wipe some of that off, just get my brush a bit wet, and wipe off where I got a little crazy. And it's funny, as I look around, there are items I have here that would make good, that I haven't done reviews on, that I should. Like my art tape, little rolly guys are pretty handy. I need to get to some of these product review type blogs. I also, one of the ones I really want to do, oops, I do need to spread this around, is one on my tech stuff. Like I got a new video camera. I got a ton of stuff that I'm using with that. And I haven't done any type of reviews or shared it at all. I'm so behind on stuff I want to do. Like there's so many things I want to do, just not enough time. Okay, and then we've got a shadow under here. Now, I don't have any colors that will work well for that shadow unless I just want to go with black. I'm going to pull a little ultramarine blue, and I'll probably pull that. Do I have ultramarine out? You guys know how I like to border things or line things, so I'll probably use this anyway. This is the ultramarine from the Liquitex Soft Body, and oh, mine's clogged. Maybe I don't like these as much if they're clogging. Like, shouldn't it not clog? Isn't that... Are you clogged? Ooh, not a fan. I am less of a fan of these little squeezy bottles that I was telling you about that I like. That one actually clogged. How are you not designed in a way that that doesn't happen? Condensation everywhere. Baby Panda said, I agree with the others. I love the longer videos and love the live streams where we can interact with you. You're so helpful to us mere mortals. You're funny. Tanya said, hi Lisa, this looks gorgeous so far. Quick question. Have you ever ended up in tears due to some mean comments on your art online? Not in tears, annoyed. So I have another friend who makes videos, and so we sometimes just share with each other like stupid things people say to us. So it makes it easier when you've got somebody else who goes through the same thing you do. I don't get so much irritated as, wow, you are really dumb, or you're really a bitter, angry person and your comment has a whole lot more to do about you than me. Like, when you can kind of talk through that with people. I'm self-confident, I guess, enough in my work, and I was enough so before I started with YouTube, that I never really let somebody else's comment drag me down. And that takes time to get, to go through, of course. But I don't think anybody ever brought me to tears. You know what brings me to tears are super chats, weirdly enough. And I know that's like the opposite. I'm like, you're being so nice to me. People aren't nice to people online. And then I get all teary and like try to not cry, like full blown cry. My eyes just even thinking, like my nose gets all stuffy and I'm a dork. But as far as like actual comments people have said, I've not really, none of them, when it used to bother me, like when someone would leave a thumbs down on a video, I took it personally, like, oh, but now it's like, oh, if someone thumbs something down, I'm probably doing something right because I probably said something that they needed to hear that they didn't like. Or you get a lot of, with artists, I'll do the whole, like my head's big and I just assume they're jealous, or, I do silly, get little mind games like that with myself so it doesn't let it pull me down, because it could. And it's very common for people who are new to YouTube, especially, like a simple thumbs down would really upset people. With me, I'm just like, whatever, you're dumb. So I don't really care that much. But I've had a few, I have had some comments from people that you're like, oh, please don't show up at my house. You are terrifying. I've definitely had some of those. But, people that make me make sure I keep up to date on my payments to my my security system. But I haven't had, oops, that's not supposed to be white or blue there. I haven't had, this is my ultramarine blue with some white, or I'm sorry, with my Mars black thinned with water. So this is our shadow here. But I haven't had any that really like super upset me. One thing, it didn't bring me to tears, but it really irritated me. There was a situation years ago, or a couple of years ago, where a YouTuber had lied about a product, and I just came out and was like, no, this is misinformation for clicks. They made that video, and it was funny too, because everyone, their viewers are like, why would they lie? They bought these supplies themselves. They lied because in the first few days, they made about $5,000 on that video for making BS drama lies. So anyway, there was that situation was a little bit stressful because their viewers are mostly children, and those children were attacking me. And so I just blocked it so that I had to, allow comments to come through. But that video was definitely stressful for me because I don't do drama and I normally wouldn't have spoken out, but the things that were being said about the company were so wrong, and there was just so much misinformation and just straight out. So that specific video was actually a copy of a bigger, let's see if I can sum this up without like getting too much into it. A video had gone out, I'm adding blue up here too, this bluish black. Video had been done about a YouTuber who had ordered a box or a mystery box from eBay, and she was pretty much scammed. And so it was like, this product is a scam. So somebody else went, and it was almost like scene by scene copy that video, but for a product that I like. And I made a video just kind of explaining or countering some of the misinformation, and their viewers got all up on me, and this person was lying about me. It was so that one was stressful. It didn't bring me to tears. It was just like, oh my God, I need wine. That one was definitely not super amusing. And it was annoying because I knew which video she had copied to get it was for views, and the other video from the other YouTuber had made, it was not even about art, but the first video had done well for somebody else, so she copied that but in an art way, which is how most of those videos were being done at the time, were just a copy of usually beauty vloggers. So yeah, that one definitely, because all the kids that watch that person came after me. That was annoying. But I would say that was the only time that I was like stressed or upset about anything. And it wasn't even that upset. It was more just annoyed. Like, I can't believe this person is lying, and I can't believe so many people believe her when so much of what's being said is very easy to prove. Like, look up and go, oh, that's not right. That's incorrect. But anyway, that I would say would be the only one. Leah said, I enjoy the Smart Art Box videos. Was watching them today while working. Yeah, I definitely, and Smart Art Box has improved. So, now, I liked how they were before. Oh my gosh, they're so much better now. They really took advice from people and improved their product and their lessons, and they're amazing. So I really want to go through and start doing, maybe we'll do a Smart Art Box for one of the live streams next week, because they are really, like, I've opened a few and I'm like, is that you making that noise? Wade, wake up. His tongue is hanging out of the side of his mouth, and he's making weird, like, barky things in his sleep. Wait. Wake up. Oh, there he goes. His tongue's still hanging out, though. Let's see. Have I ever seen the artwork of Nicoletta? I don't remember people's names, so I might have, and I just don't remember. I'm not sure. Jinxie Clark said, are you talking about the illusion of detail when painting the feathers? Yes, and that's essentially what I'm doing. The way that I've done this, it looks like I have detail that I very much do not. So it's a really nice way to get that look without actually having to sit there and do all of those details. Now here, I'm coming through with these shadows and I'm overdoing a lot of these the blues, because I have to come back with white, and I want this blue. It's my ultramarine blue mixed with my Mars black, and then thinned with water so that they're fairly translucent. More water. And so I'm just glazing this over areas where I want a few more shadows, and then I'll come back with white over it. But it gives me the look of details without actually painting in the details. Now, it can look amazing if you go ahead and paint the details, but in this case, you know, we've got a time limit. This really works out well. Jackie said, maybe short videos of back to total basics, like how you gesso, how you prepare a canvas, things that you think are obvious but not necessarily necessary. You're a genius. That is a really good idea. Please, if you guys can remember, and I'll try to, if I'm done with this tonight and not totally asleep, go post on Facebook, on my Facebook page. I will post this question in a poll. Please leave suggestions for me, because then they're all written in one place and I can find them. I love that idea. Like, I really love that idea. And post other things in too, if you leave a comment on that one, that you think are beginner things, because sometimes I just don't even think about it. So that's a really good one. Andrea said, have you heard of Deco Art American Self-Leveling Gesso? I have had so many cheap canvases that were totally rough. Now they are smooth. Huh. See, and I wonder, Deco Art is like a cheapy, like hobby paint, not professional. So I'm curious about that. That's interesting. Visions of the Heart said, so sorry, I didn't even think to add which medium I was looking for. It's hard to write what you're thinking with limited space on chat. Oh, I know that. I was looking for acrylic videos. Okay, look at there's a copper banded butterfly. It's like intro to acrylics. That one is great. I think there's an old Apple one on there, but the copper banded butterfly is like basic beginner, just your first time painting with acrylics. That one's really helpful. Carla said, are your puppies sawing logs behind you? Not right now. Wade, though, with his tongue hanging out of the side of his mouth, it's like head is on the edge of the bed and tongue is just hanging out. It's so funny. Mary Beth said, I think you recalled you had previously mentioned Skillshare asking you to do tutorials. I found some great artists there. It might be a way to find a different customer demographic. The problem is, I don't want to teach on, like, I make more on Patreon than I'm going to make on Skillshare. So I would rather just promote Patreon. And I know there's benefit to Skillshare, but because things, and I may eventually diversify that a bit more, but all of that takes time. And with Patreon doing as well as it is, yes, all my eggs are in that one basket. But for now, I don't think Skillshare is a fit for me. That may change someday, for sure. But right now, I don't think it is, or it's my best choice. I could be wrong. I may regret that. And yeah, there are a lot of amazing artists who do lessons on there. So it's not like I judge Skillshare badly. It's just, there's only so much time in the day, and it's like, which one do I really want to promote? I would rather get people over to Patreon as much as possible, but that may change. You never know. Marika said, I love the live streams. Maybe you could work on the same painting over several streams so you don't always have to finish them in just 2 hours. And that's what I'm thinking, like one that we only work on the live stream. So if someone wanted to follow along, they could week by week. I'm kind of liking that idea. Okay. I'm going to switch to a round brush and possibly a liner brush. Actually, this is a number 4 liner brush. It's bigger than I typically use, but it might work really well. Let's see for what we need now. Hey, we're not actually doing bad time-wise, because now we get to the parts that stuff starts looking good. Actually, first thing I want to do, I want to give a little bit of a shine to his eye, and I need some transparent mixing white. This one, I'm just going to use my Liquitex Soft Body because it's the first I grabbed. But that is transparent mixing white. That one's not clogged. Maybe I just didn't have the lid on all the way of the ultramarine blue. I don't know. It's possible. Felt like it was on all the way. So I mixed a bit of ultramarine blue with it. I'm going to give myself a little bit of a shine right in this upper corner. And I will do a brighter highlight with just straight titanium white after, but I just want to get this little one in here. This brush is kind of damaged, so it's not painting it as well as I would like it to. I'm going to get that to pull over a little bit more rounded. It's a bit too strong. Let me grab a clean brush that I can kind of fade this out on. And see, when we talked about, you know, which brushes to use and when, I just grabbed this brush because it was there and it would work. It was small enough to work. I could have used any number of brushes over here. So much with it, you're going to get to the point with your brushes. I had in my head that you had, like, if I only knew which brush they were using, if I only knew all of these tricks, this is what's going to make my work look better. With paintbrushes, you're going to get to the point where you can grab almost any brush and make it do what you want. That just comes from experience. So don't put too much weight in, like, I need the exact right brush. It really isn't that big of a deal. A little highlight there. I'm also going to use this and start with it just titanium white, and we're going to start really making some stuff bolder. Although, if this is dry enough over here, we can glaze the yellow that I needed to. It's a bit of water, a bit of yellow. We're going to make that stand out a bit more here. A little bit in his eye. I've got to fix the roundness here. This is not quite shaped right. Nope, actually, I think I need to pull it out the other direction. So I'm going to rinse that, add some white, we'll let it dry, and I'll pull some of my raw sienna into it. So this is going to look weird for now, but it'll make more sense later. Okay, let's see. Miriam said, hello, this is a beautiful eagle, Lisa. Thank you. Joseph said, what were you saying about the purple aardvarks? Were the pretty or punny? Huh? What are you talking about? See, when Joseph talks, you pretty much know he's being sarcastic, except I'm not sure what he's being sarcastic about right now. Let's see. Count Olaf said, do you keep a sketchbook or do you only do finished paintings like these? Pretty much I only do finished paintings. It is rare I do anything in a sketchbook. I don't have time. So when you do the YouTube thing as an artist, you pretty much have two jobs. So I'm not just trying to make videos and edit videos. I've also got to complete the artwork too. So now I could do a sketchbook and turn that into a video, but I just don't. I don't have a good reason, actually. So yeah, I typically prefer finished paintings. I'm actually reading a book right now, which is amazing. Daughter in Smoke and Bones by Lani Taylor, I think is the name. So good. And get the Audible. It has my favorite narrator, which is Christine Bam. She's amazing. And oh my gosh, this is one of the best books. Like, I just love it. I haven't listened to it in years. I'm listening to it again right now. But anyway, one of the main characters, she sketches. She's an artist and she sketches constantly. And I'm like, I want to be like that. I want to have a sketchbook I take with me everywhere and I'm constantly sketching in. That's how I was when I was younger. But now everything is, all my time goes into more completed pieces. So I'm using this as a number 4 synthetic hog-haired liner, and I'm coming through and just getting that hint of feathers here and there. But yeah, Daughter of Smoke and Bones, Smoke and Ash, something like that. Lani Taylor? Now I'm just giving you misinformation. So good. I cannot recommend that book enough. And it's just beautifully written. Like, so good. Like, that's the only book that I've ever read where I would say it's just beautiful. Like, really, really, really well done. And weirdly enough, I've not looked up anything else by that author. I should, because she's clearly amazing. Okay. Susan said, Lisa thanks for the straight up on brushes. Yeah, I'm just not that picky on them. I just don't, maybe I'm not picky on them out of necessity because when I started painting, I couldn't figure out what would work well. And it's just, but I've seen that with most artists. There's a saying, and I don't know who said it, but it's something along the lines of a good artist can paint an entire painting with one paintbrush. And actually the person I heard that from, I first heard it from, I've heard it elsewhere too, but I heard it is the old man, keeping it family friendly. The man who had showed me to try to throw away all my brushes. He was one who had said that, and he was not wrong. Like it's a known quote, and it's so true. You will get to where you don't need all the expensive brushes. Now, I kind of want to try the Rosemary and Company brushes. I've heard great things about them, but part of me is like, would I even know? I mean, I'm just not that picky with brushes, and you can give me just about any cheap generic thing and I can probably make it work for me. I mean, some will start to annoy me if they start falling apart or they're shedding a lot. But like these, I'm using generic brushes now and they don't do any of that. So this is a big tip. When you use a rake brush for painting feathers or painting grass or fur, I never only use the rake brush. I'll use it to kind of block in and get my base shapes because it does save time. But I'm going to come back through with that liner brush or a round brush and better define things. Let's see. Yeah, Nick says, no two use the same brush the same way either. Yeah, totally true. Let's see. Count Olaf said, do you keep a sketchbook or do you... Okay, I got that one. Carol said, haha, I have 10 brushes in front of me and the only one I'm using is my filter. And I do that all the time. Like I have all of these brushes out. I don't know if you can see all these. I've used like 3, maybe 4. You don't need, and I'm a brush hoarder. That's the funny thing. I have so many brushes, but I will still use the same ones. When I was younger, it was kind of a joke with my students, especially with oil paint, because they're like, oh, I have to wash all these brushes. I had to use like 10 or 12, 20 of their brushes in one painting session when I was helping them. But as I got older and more experienced, I definitely got to where you don't need as many. And the funny thing is about that then, when you're first starting, you didn't need as many. Like you could save the money and put it into like new colors of paint or something. I don't know. You just don't need, there are a few brushes that I want multiples of, like my mop brushes. I need a lot of those just because of the nature of those needing to be dry all the time in order to work well. So I have to have backups ready to go all the time. But yeah, you really don't need as much as you might think you do. This whole section is really like super overexposed there, so we're just gonna go a little bit more solid on some of these guys. Ow. Jason said, it's about using water or not because of the argument that using gloss medium is not trying to throw you off. It just happens. So you're not trying to screw with me. No, yeah, you were right. I see what you mean about the water thing. Yeah, for those who don't know, there's an ongoing thing where people, there's a video on YouTube that the woman is claiming if using science, misinformation, partial science is what she's using. Wow, isn't that like the whole world today? But anyway, she is using her science to say how if you use more than a certain percentage of water, the paint is going to, what did she say, chip off the canvas? Like the word she used, it's like that doesn't happen. That absolutely doesn't happen. How have you been painting for more than 5 months? Because that does not happen. But anyway, she had this whole like video, and so because of this video telling people not to use water but instead to use a mixing medium, you can use a mixing medium, it just gives you somewhat different results. That I am not like, I prefer water in almost every case. There are exceptions, but most of the time I'm going to use water to thin my paint. But the video did kind of this scare tactic thing, and it worked to get views. I mean, I understand what she was doing. Maybe she didn't do that on purpose, I don't know. But she had so much misinformation. It was kind of like this scare tactic thing that people watch it and they're like, oh my gosh, but I've always used water. Is my painting going to be ruined and the paint's going to fall off and chip off or flake off or whatever it was she made up? So, yeah, it's kind of a thing. Like, I get asked all the time if it's safe to use water, and I'm pretty sure it's because of her video. And she had to turn the comments off because, people were like, our actual artists were like, no, not how that works. So, anyway, yeah, that video has been a pain in my butt because of the amount of times I've had to like, no, that's not true. That's not how that works. Like she had a little bit of truth in her video and a whole lot of misinformation. I mean, I don't want to imply she's like this evil mastermind trying to spread misinformation. I think she genuinely didn't know. She probably got bad information from somebody. I don't know. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt there. But man, that video is a pain for any artist who has to constantly explain, no, you can use water with your acrylics. It's fine. Vision of the Heart said, do you think you could ever do a live stream with learning how to paint rain and rain droplets, puddles, mist? Yes. Do me a favor and list that when I post over on Facebook asking for suggestions. Please do that because I don't have anything to write. Oh, I guess I do have this to write down. Oh, I do. Hold on. I'm going to write that down. Rain, live stream, and puddles. I like that idea. I mean, you can suggest it over on the other thing too when I post on Facebook. Jason said, I would watch the teaching one on Patreon or supplies went out. Huh? I would watch the teaching one on Patreon or supplies went out. I swear I never know what you're talking about. And it's making me feel more and more dumb each time. Because everyone else I'm sure is like, obviously we know what he's talking about. For some reason my brain is just like not reading it right. When SG said, I struggle with trying this things because this little person in my head is convinced that every piece should be a masterpiece. I struggle with sketchbooks for that reason. Yeah, I'm kind of like that with sketchbooks. Like, okay, I'll do a loose, rough sketch sometimes on a design idea, but that's about it. But we definitely, that little person in our head telling us that information, we need to try to squish as much as we can. The idea that everything needs to be a masterpiece is something that will absolutely hold you back. And it will frustrate you because obviously not everything's going to be a masterpiece. And there's, of course, the learning curve too. You're going to get better over the years the more you're painting and drawing. But this idea, a lot of us kind of want to skip to the end of our art journey and think everything's going to look amazing. And you have to remember how long when let's say you're following a tutorial. I've been painting for, 25 years, I don't know, longer than that. I've been painting for a very, very long time. So I'm painting faster, which gives the illusion that you should paint faster, or just that it's easier than it is. And sometimes people get frustrated that theirs doesn't look the same. That comes with time and with practice, and you can't skip the hard parts. I'm not saying it's going to take you 25 years to get to that point, but the thing is we have to work through those. That's a part of the art thing, is that not everything's going to be, and even with me, I have failures sometimes where I'm like, I never want to show anyone that. But on Patreon, I do, what was the last one I did, that flamingo where I hated the paper and it just didn't come out right. But I wanted to show you guys, so if you were struggling with that same paper, you could kind of see how I felt about that and hopefully relate, which many of you did, so good. But if something goes wrong too, like if I make a mistake, I typically don't edit it out, because I think it's helpful to see how to fix a mistake, and that it happens. Like, we all have things go on that wasn't exactly what we were planning on. But we have a tendency to think every brushstroke, everything's going to be so perfect. We have to get that out of our head, because I think it really holds us back. And it's scary because you get to the point where you're like, but I don't want to mess up, so I don't want to make a bad brushstroke. I don't want to ruin it. And a lot of people end up not finishing their work because of that concept of being afraid to mess it up. And they'll get like a quarter of the way through and they're like, I mean, it looks good for being to this stage, but now I'm not going to finish it because I'm afraid I'm going to mess something up. You're only a quarter of the way through. It doesn't matter if you mess something up. It's not done either way. Like, it's not good if you leave it that way. So mess something up and learn something from that mess up. But yeah, it's something we definitely have to get out of our head. One of the things that I have a tendency to do too, I don't know if you guys struggle with this, but I will do something like my zebra. I love how the zebra with the honeycomb came out on the mane, or that's embedded into him. Love that. Or my lion with the coral mane. There are a few paintings that I'll do and I'm just like, this is so great. I love this so much. It's like, this is what I want my work to always look like. And then I'll go to do the next painting and I can't come up with it like a good idea, like something super unique. And you have to remember that's normal. And that like, you're not always going to have the best. Like, every painting you're going to do isn't going to be your best. Every painting you're going to do isn't going to be the most unique idea. You're going to want to do fillers. I mean, like, what did I do? Actually, I really like how it came out too. But I did this week the I posted it over on Instagram, but the dolphins with the earth and the moon in Inktense. That's not my best idea. Like, I painted that concept tons of times, never with an Atlantic white-sided dolphin, I don't think, but I painted that tons and tons of times, or that concept over my lifetime. I used to paint the space scenes with the dolphins and whales all the time. It's not my most unique piece. It's not like, I don't think it's anywhere near as good as my zebra was, but it's still something. You still want to produce something constantly, so you're still practicing, and that may give me the idea for another painting. Like, I want to do a space one with a turtle. I haven't done a sea turtle in space. I'd like to do that. So these, even though something may not be your best idea, it may lead up to the next thing that's your best idea. What you don't want to do is sit around waiting for inspiration, waiting for that great idea to hit. Always be creating no matter what, even if you don't have the next greatest idea you ever had. And you're like, wow, I'm painting something. Now I'm painting a banana. Last week I painted this amazing coral scene and it was so good and I can't come up with something like, or can't think of anything right now. Don't sit around waiting. Go paint a banana. Go paint an apple. Paint anything. Something is better than nothing to keep up with your skill, and that idea may lead to something else. So let's say an apple. I may be sitting there painting that apple and constantly thinking like, what can I do to make this more interesting? And I may get the idea, this would be really cool if I painted an octopus holding up an apple in his arm there. That simple idea may lead to more interesting ideas, and you wouldn't have gotten those ideas if you weren't at least sketching, at least something. But don't let that, like, everything has to be my best idea ever, hold you back, or you will get very, very little done. Casey said, have you thought about doing a complete non-art related video where you react to some of the crazy comments you get? Yeah, I had a friend who wanted to do it, and I definitely considered doing it. And part of me is wondering, like, if I started doing videos like that, and I was screenshotting them for a while. Now I just delete them right away. Like, I don't need to read your crap. But I wonder if it would encourage people to be nasty for the sake of being featured in a video type thing. I guess I could block out their name, so that would hopefully deter some of that. But I have considered it. I have had friends who really wanted me to make those. So maybe. I haven't, a lot of them that have been screenshotted over the years. So I probably could pull some of those up. But I think that would be kind of a funny video. Because some of them are so, like, some of them are crude. Some of them are just like, that is the most random, like, wow. Let's see. Oh, it just jumped. Crap. This is going to take me a while to scroll back up to where we were. Hold on 1 second. And by 1 second, I mean lots of seconds, because... Oh, man. Where were we? I think just getting caught up in questions we're going to go over a little tonight. Well, I started late too. There we go. Okay. Here we are. Cat's Art Pick said, my artwork is on Instagram. Thanks for the warning about Etsy. Well, good. Carla said, one thing I enjoyed was when you would do critiques. And we will do those. The critiques are that I do now. It's like a whole critique live stream where I critique a whole bunch at once. The individual critiques, they're too long. Like, I don't ever plan to do those again. The amount of time it took to write everything out, to those were one of the hardest things to edit, and they got the least amount of views by a lot. So now I like doing the live streams are a way better way to go. And I do need to schedule one of those coming up pretty soon here. We haven't done one of those in a while where I just critique a whole bunch in one stream. You definitely need to do that. Carlene said, it looks almost finished to me. We're getting there. Jason said, I meant that you finished a picture on a Wednesday. Do I not normally? I have been mostly lately with there's something, a couple weeks ago I worked on the zebra, so I didn't. Casey said, every time you say, huh, to a question, I start to laughing. That's me being confused when I do that usually. Or like, I don't know how to answer that. Trisha said, I also have noticed the choosing of a brush varies from project. I might decide I hate a brush on one painting and then on the next it's fabulous. This is a good example. I never use this brush. I used to all the time, and now I'm like, a number 4 liner, this is too big, but it's working pretty well on this. Casey said, hey, I thought I'd remind you about doing the sea anemone and colored pencil on black paper. I have that written down. That was one of the ones I was considering for this week, but I found the picture of the butterfly and the flower before I found the picture of an anemone, so that's why we went with that. But it's still on my to-do list over on my desk. I need to find the photo I want to use. Cindy said, hi Lisa, I did Inktense blacks, Lily, for the first time using blacks. It looked really chalky and the pencil lines wouldn't stay on. I used watercolor cotton sheet and a lot of layers. The pencil lines what I do for like my initial outline, I don't use the outliner that it comes with, and I don't use Inktense pencils to draw it out. What I use are a water-soluble graphite pencil so that I lose the lines on purpose. Those lines are just a loose guideline detailed guideline for when I get started. But once I start layering in there, I don't want those lines to show, because a lot of the Inktense colors, those are very translucent. I don't want those pencil lines showing underneath. And so I use a water-soluble graphite, so I intentionally get rid of those throughout all of that. And yeah, the chalky look is normal. I use the word matte, but the matte finish, it photographs so well. But yeah, it's going to have a fairly chalky look. That's normal. Now, if you mean chalky in that it's like rough, like bumpy looking, like almost cement instead of being smooth, that happens when you take the Inktense and put it straight on your paper instead of making an ink mixture and painting that ink mixture on like you would with like a watercolor pan. So that will give you a very rough look. So if you mean chalky that way, like rough chalk, bumpy, those don't ever blend out all the way when you apply it straight to the paper. Sometimes that gives you a really cool look. Sometimes you want smooth, and that's where you would want to make the mixture separate and paint it on like you would watercolors. But if you mean matte, like that it's chalky as in matte, yeah, that's normal at the medium. And that's one of the things that I like so much about it, because it's so easy to photograph. So it makes for really good prints. So I'm getting a little crazy with some of the black lines in here. We'll start filling some of these in. That was my hand rubbing on the mouse, by the way, in case anyone has a childish sense of humor like I do. Let's see. When SGWW said, I would love a short video on mixing some of the colors you use often, i.e. red oxide and black, to make brown. Also, which colors you often use interchangeably due to availability. That would be the shortest video. I'm trying to think. I mean, I can show how I mix teal and red oxide and that, but I think that would be such a short, maybe that's a good thing though. My favorite way to mix brown paint. I can make that work. I kind of like that idea. Suggested if you can over on Facebook, so I remember. That would be like, and that may be the way to do some edited, like super short. I mean, it would be like, 3 minutes long? If that, it would be super, super short, but that's a really, that's a good idea. It's so funny. I feel like my dad sometimes. So my dad, if you ask him or suggest something where you're like, hey, this is a good idea, he will always say no. Every time. No, he has some reason. No, it's a bad idea. For some reason he doesn't want to do it. You give him about 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes, and he'll come back in the room. So I was thinking, and he'll agree to it. Like he thinks it's a good idea. But he will always say no at first. And I feel like I do that a lot. Like I think I got that from him. Where I'm like, no, I think that's too short of a video. And then I think about it. I'm like, actually, that's a really good idea. Let's see. DJ said, I think one live stream a week and a tutorial for tips on art, colored paint, and some of your tank setup, doggies, chickens, etc. Yeah, okay, so here's an idea I'm kind of excited about. Speaking of the critters, I want to do a new intro for several of the animals. So like I have the one of chicken, and I want to do another one of chicken because chicken is now flying to me, like coming when called, but he's in full flight, so he can come, like if I can get him to land on the pencils, I want to play around with that. I've got some ideas for a new video with chicken, an intro, but I also want to get a video of like, maybe Matt has his baby hognose snake. It might be, well, she's not baby, she's a year old now, but it might be neat to do a video of her like crawling over my pencils for one. And then another video, maybe with Nugget, Matt's parrotlet, walking across I don't know, I've got a few different ideas. I'd like to have several intros with different critters. Too, but yeah, we're definitely, and I'll be setting up that bigger fish tank soon, so that'll make for a good video. Now you can sit on your painting and fuss over any of these details for as long as you want. Obviously mine, I'm limited time-wise, so mine will be cut much, much shorter than yours, but you can really sit and get more and more and more details. You can make yours with more time look infinitely better than mine. I mean, he looks cool, but you can take more time, and that's an important thing with painting is more time more often than not, means better. Take your time, go slow. Keep working on it. And if you have a bad layer, don't panic. Because some people will get to a certain point and go, well, I don't want to mess it up. If you get to a bad layer where things aren't looking how you want, it's no big deal. Paint over it. Just keep layering until you get it to look how you want. A bad layer doesn't mean anything is ruined. It just means you're not finished yet. Keep painting, keep layering until it looks good. Leah said, I love the 1 part, 2 part idea. Okay, good. Because I really like that idea too, so I could get a few bigger projects done. I feel like we're so rushed on trying to get something, like picking a project that I can get done in 2 hours is definitely a challenge. But if I could do it over a week, a couple of weeks, that would really open up how, and we can still keep beginner projects if that's what people want. And that's another thing I need to know. Are you guys wanting a bit more advanced for live streams? Or are you wanting stuff to stay very beginner? Like, let me know what you're interested in. But if we separate it, we can still do beginner, just a little bit more, involved, or we can do more advanced too. So I'm just kind of filling in a little bit more with the black where it's a bit too, like he still looks like he was just taking a bath. Sarah said, I'm ending up doing mine in peachy tones. Nice. I can't wait to see it. I know you drew yours out. You had yours drawn out way before I had mine drawn out tonight. Renee said, part 1 and part 2, great idea. Mary Beth said, I think the longer project spaced over multiple weeks, 1 live stream a week is a great idea. And the cool thing with that, so what I normally have done, if it's a longer project, like I'll paint part of the whatever it is, and then I do the rest off camera. Like I'm only showing you a piece of that painting. But if we did it like one painting is specifically only on live streams, every week we'll get a little bit further. I like this idea a lot. Martha said, I love the 2 painting ideas. Yes, give us a chance to cut up and more supplies. Yes. Casey said, I wholeheartedly support the idea of splitting the lives into parts, 1 big piece. Love that idea. And I think what we might do is like part 1 on Wednesday, part 2 on the next Wednesday, not Wednesday and Friday, because if we keep up with 2 live streams, that way, like, not everyone can make both times. So let's see. Visions of the Heart said, I would love the bigger project idea with live chat through a few weeks. Sounds like a lot of fun. Would like a small art class. Yeah, it would be. You're right. That would be like a small art class. Casey said, I wholeheartedly support. Did I already read this one? The lives into parts of 1 big piece. Love that idea. Let's see. Maybe that's what we could do with that anemone one. In colored pencil too, because that one is going to be a bit more complicated. Starbeat Artist Collective said, people going back to work as quarantine lifts, probably affecting your views. Yeah, you're right. Maybe move the Friday stream to Saturday or Sunday afternoon, maybe 2 p.m.-ish, relaxed time on weekend afternoon. And I'm not sure, you can't see it, but Gibson's got his legs in the air, he's on his back. But Gibson's still Wade's laying like a normal dog. But my husband's schedule was supposed to be originally Saturday and Sundays off, and so I was trying to not schedule things on those days, but then with the quarantine happening and him working from home now, they've got him working really weird hours. So now he's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday off, but he works from 9 p.m. until 7 a.m. every day, or the 4 days he does work. So his schedule, it is a mess. I hate his schedule right now so much, but I mean, even if we did start with Saturdays, it's not like we couldn't change it back. Right now, Saturday's my cleaning day, though. I definitely don't want to do a live stream and clean on the same day. I used to do that. Cleaning day used to be Wednesdays at my apartment, and then the live stream after. Wednesdays were like my way too busy day. Those were exhausting. And this house takes way longer to clean now than that apartment did. Let's see. I'm just rambling. Renee said, how do you make a glaze medium and water? Just water? Yeah, just water. Just water and a little bit of paint. No white, though. When you're doing a glaze, you don't want the opaque color. So like white, bleached titanium white, those are not going to be your choice for a glaze. But any of your other colors thinned with water should work. There are a few that are like yellow oxide or yellow ochre. I forget what it is in acrylics. It's one way in acrylic, one in oils. Those can be not great as those tend to be a bit more opaque too, but your more translucent layer colors, which is pretty much everything else, those, yeah, I'm just thinning it with water. let's see. Velma said, I was hoping you would do a larger project over live streams. I love watching the progress and how a larger project comes together. I'm liking this idea. We're going to do it next week for sure. Like next Wednesday, absolutely going to be the start of one of our larger projects. We just have to figure out what we want to paint. Kind of want to do something surreal. The Wednesday ones will be acrylics for now, because for some reason that seems to be what I've been doing. But we'll do something in another medium for Friday. But we need to figure out, I definitely want to do kind of a surreal piece. So, I don't know. Maybe not surreal would be easier. I don't know. I need your ideas. Let me know what you guys want. Art by Jacob said, have you seen the artwork by Nickel? I think I already answered that. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know names. Do I like pop surrealists? Maybe? I'm not sure. I don't even know what people consider half the styles out there. I don't think I will follow a lot of that style, but I don't know. I don't remember names. That's the problem. I don't remember words. What am I saying? Let's see. Pamela said, I would love it if you did both live and shorter. I'll watch no matter what. Lisa said, do you ever build your own picture frames? I do not. I did it once. I had a friend in California who did woodworking and I had him make me one. But I don't. I mean, I would, unless I had a very specific, and even then I wouldn't make my own. I would have a friend who's a woodworker. Like actually my neighbor's a woodworker. So I would pay him to do it for me. I am not a woodworker. That is for sure. I would like cut my hand off. Visions of the Heart said, thank you so much for your acrylic painting suggestions on Patreon. I have to go check it out tomorrow. Thank you. You are welcome. Carol Green said, we need to be able to share our paintings in chat so some of us like me can show you what we are doing wrong. Well, I won't be able to do that while we're painting. There's no way I could like correct other people while I'm working on it, but he still looks more blue than he is. Mine is much warmer. I wonder if I can fix this so he's a bit more accurate. But we could also share the work we're doing in our Facebook group. So that would be a good way. Like everyone can kind of give each other some tips and stuff. So that would be cool. Let me see if I can unblue him. Not really. I don't know why the color is so far off on this tonight. Ooh, there we go. That is way more accurate. Yeah, much better. Okay, actually that is like seriously accurate. Let's see, where were we? Why do I glaze with water and not glazing medium? Because the glazing medium kind of makes the paint gunky in a way that I don't like most of the time. It makes it thicker and it's not the look that I'm going for. With the exception, there are times where like when I'm painting grapes that I like the look of glazing medium better, but usually water. I just like the way the paint feels better. Did anyone tell you your hair is shiny and pretty? Well, you are pretty, not just your hair. Can't help but notice it. Highlights remind me of Rogue from X-Men. Yeah, I'm weird. Thank you. Yeah, it's grown out. I've been letting my natural, which side you can really see on this side, grow out, and it's like, I call it my quarantine hair, which I can't really get away with because I dye my own. Like whenever I've done the bleach and stuff, I've always done it myself, the coloring. So I can't really blame it on salons being closed, but I'm going with it. Because I'm too lazy to fill in the color as needed. I'm going to have to fix that sometime. Let's see. But thank you. Renee said, let's see, read Where the Crawdads Sing and Walk in the Woods. What are those about? Are they fantasy? Because I really only like fantasy and stuff that ends with a very happy ending. If it doesn't have a happy ending, not my thing. PC Cherokee said, is it copyright infringement to draw something of your own in a well-known style, like your own characters in Disney or some? Yes, you would be copywriting on, or you would be violating their trademark. Those characters are trademarked, so it doesn't matter if you change the style. It's still a violation of their ownership of those characters. Allura said, are you okay with trying Way of Kings? It's the best book series I've read so far. Also, the author is fine with fan art. Another one is series coming out this November. So Way of Kings, I want to say, did I download one of those books and I just haven't read it yet? I might have it because that name sounds or I know you guys have suggested it before, but I'm pretty sure I have that book and just like at least the first in it and never, or haven't gotten around to listening to it. I keep listening to my favorites over and over again. Lisa said, Lisa, how about showing us how to do animals drinking out of water and focusing on the reflection in the water? Yeah, if I get a good reference photo, that would work. Count Olaf said, could you do a live stream tutorial on drawing and painting a dog? I love drawing dogs, but I really struggle with painting fur. Yeah, that would definitely be an option too. Oh, and then we just jumped like crazy. Pamela said, most of my painting turns out okay in my mind. Then there are a few areas that are real stinkers, and I have a few that really surprise myself with. That, yeah, I think that happens with me too. Melissa said, is it okay or safe to use acrylic paint in a room with birds, cockatiels, not using any mediums? So they're supposed to be non-toxic, and it's probably fine, but I don't, because I'm paranoid. Because I know that even though I can't smell it, things still give off certain gases and such, and I don't know. And so I can't tell you for certain. I can tell you that I myself am paranoid enough that I won't chance it. So, I mean, once it's dry, it's not like if I have been painting with oils, he can't be in the room for like a week. I want to make sure it's really aired out. A week after I've stopped painting and everything's been put away. But if I've been painting in acrylics, once I put the paints away, I'm not worried about bringing them in. Like I feel like it airs out fast enough, but the oils just stick around. So, and oils are very, very toxic. I know that for certain. So, but I personally don't do it, but I can't say that it would be a problem for sure. I just don't know, and I'm paranoid. Marika said, I watched Art Sherpa and they said not to use heat when drying your painting with a hairdryer because it causes color shifts. What do you think? It's not true. If a color shift is going to happen, it happened because the paint dried. But no, if you're using quality paint, the hairdryer didn't make the color shift happen. Jackie said, please don't use the snake, totally phobic, and we'll never be able to watch your videos again in case it jumps out at me. I'm sorry. I'm definitely not going to not include her. And so I know people have phobias, but it's like I can't. I got 2 comments on my zebra with the bees about phobias. And while I feel for people that deal with that, I also am like, I can't make all of my choices to avoid everybody's phobias. So, I mean, the snake's a part of my life. So it's like, sooner or later, and I apologize for that, you know, you may want to skip all of my intros, like skip a minute into the video. You'll know she would typically be, if she's in it, she's going to be, but I can't guarantee she won't be in other videos. So, yeah, there's unfortunately no way for me to make sure that I'm covering everybody's phobias, because there are a lot of them out there, as I found with everybody complaining, well, not everybody, but a couple of people complaining about the zebra. So one person wanted a warning on Instagram. You can't warn, if I put a text warning, hey, by the way, there's bees, you saw the photo before you saw the warning. Like, that doesn't even make sense. But that one was a little bit of an odd request. I don't think they realized what platform they were requesting that to be on. But yeah, unfortunately, I like at this point, I just can't account for a lot of, I mean, I've been contacted about some pretty random now that's not a random phobia, that one's more common, obviously, but it's like, I would have to stop doing all the things. But again, if it ever is, it would be in the first few seconds of the video, and then the rest of the video, like it's just the intro there. Bellyache said, hi, and it wouldn't be on live streams at all. Like I don't have my intro on live stream, so you're always safe there. Bellyache said, hi Lisa, I love the idea of more beginner type videos. Also, the idea of using the snake on the intro is kind of scary. A lot of people have a phobia with them. Yeah, I mean, but like I said, she's a part of my life, and I can't account for everybody's phobia, and I know that people aren't going to like that, but I'm like the bees. That's apparently a fairly common phobia. I paint bees all the time though, so I don't know. I don't know what the solution is there to like where you draw the line on what you cut out. When she said, more advanced for the multiple parts, beginner for one session. Wait, I'm not reading that right, sorry. More advanced for the multiple parts, beginner for one session videos. Yeah, that would definitely work. DJ said, this looks amazing, Lisa. I love those feathery details. Truly inspiring. Thank you so much for using this request. Thanks for making the request. It worked out really well. I was excited when I saw this photo. I was like, oh, that fits what, yes, I was excited. Just said, even though I don't draw realism very often, I still have learned so much from your tutorials. The advice about your values especially has really helped me improve my cartoonish work. Nice. Martha said, yay for surreal. How about mixed media? Yeah, we could do, I want to do graphite and colored pencil is one of the mixed medias I want to do. I don't do mixed media that often. Well, no, I do airbrush and colored pencil. That would be well, not everyone has. The airbrush, I don't do a lot, like I haven't been using it for the live stream because I know a lot of people don't have them, and I've been trying to keep the live stream something that like more people could join in on. But I think if we do the several part one, I'll do it with a lot if I need an airbrush, but then explain to people how not. Like if you don't have an airbrush, this would be the method to do it by. Or I could do a sample of both. Ideas. Crazy Bone said, hello Lisa, what do you think is the easiest way to sell art? Thanks so much. You're the best. I have not tried selling art like online or pushing it very much in a very long time, so I'm not going to be the one to give you the best advice. But when I did sell it, and remember when I was selling that, we're talking back in like the mid 2000s and before. I used to sell on eBay and I did fairly well that way. And then I also got a lot of commissions selling through Facebook. Now Facebook used to be easier. Now the way that they filter content, it's a lot harder to get those views. But Facebook I actually had pretty good luck with. I've heard people say they did well with Instagram too. I've not tried selling anything that way. But I know I've bought things from artists on Instagram, so that makes sense. Need to glaze a little bit of yellow in the eye. I'm going to mix some raw sienna and a bit of that yellow. Don't want it too bright. Hector said, have you ever painted a Native American? Would that be too much detail for 2 hours? The problem is getting a photo. So from what I understand, a lot of people who have found photos and contacted them like they didn't want to be painted, the people who are actual Native Americans, and I wouldn't, like the people wearing costumes aren't really into, I'm not interested in doing that, but somebody who's an actual Native American, finding somebody who is willing to share their photo with me or let me, like some, oh God, where did I hear this? I think it was another artist was talking about, they went to an event thinking I'm going to take photos of, like they're doing a parade, I'm going to take photos and I can use that for reference, but they actually told him they did not want them using their photos. They didn't want any of that done, like they weren't okay with any of that. So yeah, it's why I haven't done anything like that, because I thought it would be amazing to do. And I remember reading or watching a video, somebody was talking about that. So, and I don't personally know anyone in a tribe, so I don't have like somebody, I don't have an in there. Let's see. If I had a photo that I was legally allowed to use, oh, I would love to. Angela said, could you start part 1 on a Friday live stream and finish on the next Wednesday so that 2 parts were back to back, those following along? I don't want to do 2 parts on a Friday and a Wednesday because a lot of people who watch on Wednesday nights can't make Friday days. So I definitely want to do like, as far as 2-part, be Wednesday and then Wednesday. Richard said, that looks gorgeous. Will you be doing anything with the black background or leaving it black? I thought I would airbrush it, but now I'm like, the black actually works because I left so much black in the feathers. It makes more sense just to leave it like this. So I'll probably just leave it as it is. Sally said, I keep falling asleep. My thumb lands on the screen. Sorry if I made an action I didn't mean. Thank you, Lisa, the beautiful eagle. Thanks for sharing space and time with me. Take care, all. Thanks, Sally. Sleep well. Rhonda says, is there a space where you list what you have done before the live stream starts? Like have a canvas, painted black? Yes, it should be. Is it not in the description? It should be in the description here. I have the link to the reference photo. It's over on patreon.com/Lachri. You don't need to be a member to get the reference photo. You can get it there and I tell you like what I'm going to do as far as painting the black. So it should be in the description. PZ Cherokee said, not the characters, just your own character, but with the same style as them. Oh, now a style cannot be copyrighted. The character is the style. No, you can paint your own character in that style. You're fine. That's something totally different. Suzanne said, I had another person repeat the false information about no more than 30% water. I couldn't find the information from Golden debunking this. I'd have to get the link, please. I'd love to get the link, please. I don't have the link. I would just have to go to Golden's. It's on their Facebook pages where they've shared it. Niam said, do you use an isolation coat in your acrylic paintings before varnishing? Because I'm not sure if I can varnish them without isolation. I don't. Using the Liquitex gloss varnish, I just go straight on the painting. But there are certain varnishes and certain techniques people use where they do use an isolation coat. I just never have. I'm not saying I'm doing it the right way. That's just how I've always done it. Let's see. PC Cherokee said, how and when were you able to transition from your day job to only making a living on art? Was it through commission sales or YouTube? So it was way before YouTube. I was working at animal hospitals and I was also teaching at the same time. So I did both. I was working multiple jobs and I was working at vaccine clinics. I had a lot of jobs, but I worked, I did both for, let's see, I was 19 when I decided I wanted to do this as a living. By the time I was 20, I was taking it a lot more seriously. 21, even more, like it continued. 21, 20 and 21 is when I really started pushing on it. And I was also working at the animal hospital. And even before that, I was working at, I think it was Sam's Club and then the animal hospital. And before that was at pet stores. But anyway, that's irrelevant. So I was teaching too. I started selling my work in like local galleries. I had them listed in a cafe. They didn't sell in the cafe, but they were selling out of the local gallery down at the Pomona Arts Colony. So I was selling in California. I was selling there, and then I started teaching at Michael's. That's where I got my feet wet. Like started teaching courses, and it was 2002. I was doing well enough with Michael's and then also selling on eBay. I also at that point started on eBay. Between all of that and taking commissions actually didn't really start heavily until about 2005. It's when I got my first, Gibson's still on his back. I got my first Italian Greyhound, and so it was in the Italian Greyhound forums. I would share my paintings and people were hiring me to paint their dogs. I mean, I had done a few, but not many before that. Yeah, that it was just kind of but I had multiple income streams. So teaching was one, eBay was another. Luckily back then eBay did very well, much more so than it did a few years later. Some commissions, and this is before social media, so that made it a lot harder to get those. There were forums, but that was how I was making my income, and that was back in 2002. So unfortunately I was already full-time with that when eBay started to take a dive, but that is mostly some art shows, but the art shows never really did super well. Casey said, Karen, know you're right. Karen, know your rights, accuse everybody, request to speak to a manager, escalate every situation, neglect reason. I agree, but I don't know what this is in relation to. Allura said, I could get you a native Hawaiian photo. Ooh, that would work for you. I grew up there and and Hawaii is part of the U.S. Yes, if you can get me a photo set, I would love that. Let's see. Cat's Art Pick said, can I use hairspray instead of fixative for pastels? Only if you don't want your work to be archival. Don't use hairspray. And here's the thing. I'm pretty much done with this, so we're going to put that down. Actually, I want to line a little bit of blue. Do one more thing. So one of the things that teachers used to tell you, use hairspray as a fixative for graphite, use it for pastels, use it for everything. So hairspray, and they're like, yeah, I did it for years. I've been doing it for the last 50 years or 60 years. Yeah, back then it was made differently. That doesn't mean it was the best choice then either, but it was made very different. Now, they put all kinds of different crap in those hairsprays because it's going to condition your hair and whatever. No, don't use hairspray on your art supplies at all, ever. Not if you want to blast. Use an actual product that is archival. That is really what you want to go with. I'm going to put a few details that aren't necessarily accurate. But you guys know how I like to line things with that little bit of a glow. So the answer to that is no. Casey said, that was in response to the Karens and their children that can't do anything wrong on YouTube. Oh, yeah. And I'm just going to hit the underside of a few areas, not because it's accurate, not because that's where the line would be, but because I think it looks nice. Get a few over here. And I'm not outlining everything, just kind of a few. Rhonda said, how can you paint these feathers starting from a white canvas? Paint a base color. I mean, this was a white canvas. I started from a white canvas. I painted black first and then over. So let's say I had just a white canvas and I was leaving the white show. First, you're going to have a challenge because that white is going to fade into you're not going to be able to see the difference. I would not paint him against a white background unless I was going to seriously hype up his contrast. He's not going to stand out. But if, oops, there's a chunk on there. Okay, I got this paint on the brush thinking, oh, I'm going to put blue here, and I don't remember where it was. But if you, let's say you were going to paint with a white canvas, which again, don't think is the best choice, outline your bird and then paint him a solid color. So it could be a dark brown. I would probably, if I was working on white, I would probably just go with a dark brown, but I would paint it that and then paint your feathers on top of that. Just a few little areas here and there. That one doesn't look good. There we go. Okay, and now I am calling him done. Hey, 10:19, so not super late. Let's see, Martha said, you are truly an inspiration. Turned out somewhat crappy day to pure, or turned my somewhat crappy day to pure bliss, knowing that you were going to be on tonight. Oh, thank you. Thanks for all of you too. Thanks for watching. Thank everybody for being here tonight. Please go over to my Facebook. The link is in the video description. Go to my Facebook page. I'm going to link a poll, if I can figure out how to do polls, either tonight or tomorrow, asking what type of content you're interested in, and then also asking for just straight out suggestions on subject matter that you would like to see for some of these live streams, because we're going to do some of the, like next week, we'll start one of our first part 1. I don't know if it'll be 2 or 3 parts. We're going to start part 1 of something you guys wanted to see in acrylic, so it'll be a longer process. And yeah, that is it. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to our moderators, Joseph and Nick. They both have channels, art channels here on YouTube. Links are in the description. Definitely check them out. Thank them for helping, because I couldn't do this without them. Those guys are amazing. They're hoping I don't do 2 live streams. Well, I'll probably have to get someone else long term for Fridays. But I ask a lot from them. Let's see. Leah said, thanks for another excellent live stream. Thanks. Thank you again so much for joining. I think that's it. Yeah, I'll have to post a picture of him. He looks slightly different. The blue is a little bit cooler on in life, because it's ultramarine. It looks almost more like a phthalo blue there. But yeah, thank you guys again so much, and I will see you Friday. Head over to patreon.com/Lachri. You can get the reference photo from Friday if you're going to follow along. I'm going to work in colored pencil and black paper again. That is over there. You want to have that drawn out before we start, because we're going to just jump right in as soon as the live stream starts. And I think that's it. So Friday, 1 p.m. Central Time. I'll see you guys then. Bye.